Hello friends, Gregg Braden here. I am coming to you today from this beautiful studio just outside of Santa Fe, New Mexico. In just a few short weeks, I'm going to be in another part of the country. I'm going to be in Berkeley Springs, West Virginia for a very special program that's a little bit different than what I would typically offer. That's what I want to talk to you about right now. So before I go any further, let me get the exact date. It is Saturday, July 31st. I am going to be at the historic Star Theater in Berkeley Springs. I've spoken there a number of times in the past. It's a very cool theater. It was built originally in 1928. Actually, the building was built in 1916. It was a garage to service automobiles. It was converted to a theater in 1928. And of course, it's been renovated in places since that time, but it's preserved many of the features that make it such a very cool place to have the conversation that you and I are going to have together. I wanted you to know that it is possible to attend this presentation either in person if you want to experience the Star Theater directly, and it is going to be streamed. We've got a really good tech team that's going to do a beautiful job of streaming this presentation, and the stream will be available for a period of time after the presentation as well, if you can't make it on the exact day. Many of you have been with me for keynote presentations, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, a couple hours, maybe in a full day. The thing is, those presentations typically support a theme for another organization. So the conference might be on science and consciousness, or on non-duality, or UFOs, or ancient archaeological sites, or whatever it is, or maybe a new book that I've just created. And those are cool. I love doing those because I have the opportunity to direct my work and my discoveries to support that theme. And I think you all know I've got a lot of irons and a lot of fires. I'm involved in a lot of organizations. I'm a scientist, a multidisciplinary scientist. And I say that because my multidisciplinary background and my affiliation with scientific and research organizations and visionary organizations gives me access to new discoveries that are, they're happening every week, that seldom make it into the mainstream. You do not see these on the glossy magazines I call pop science, that you see in the airport newsstands. You're not going to see it on mainstream television, typically not even on mainstream documentaries. On the one hand, on the other hand, these are the discoveries that have the potential to change your life and my life. And that's important because our world changed. Our world changed, and you all know that. There's no secret that I'm revealing here. The world that we knew prior to this pandemic is gone. We cannot go back to that world because it simply doesn't exist. We're forging ahead with a new world, and we're building it as we go. My feeling is the better we know ourselves, the better equipped we are to build that world. The better you know yourself, the less you will fear the change that you see in your world. And we are seeing the results of the lack of knowledge unfolding in the world around us. We are being divided as families, as communities, as societies, as nations, as a planet. The fear is being expressed is hate in our communities, in our societies, and that hate is the result of not understanding our relationship to a changing world. And that's what I want to talk to you about. The new discoveries are changing the game. So there is an emerging philosophy. I'll just share this with you right now. There's an emerging philosophy in the scientific community. Let me just share the philosophy and then I'll unpack it a little bit. The philosophy states that consciousness informs itself through its creations. Now think about that. Consciousness informs itself through its creations. We are all part of that consciousness. The creations that we make are all around us. Our books, our art, our sculpture, our dance, our music, Hollywood movies. Where do the ideas for those movies come from? The movies like The Matrix, movies like Contact, movies like Inception, movies like Wonder Woman, movies like The Avengers that are wildly successful because people are drawn to them. Those movies speak to us on some level. They speak to young people on some level, and they speak to adults. And I'm not saying everything in the movies is fact, But the theme of the movies, now think about this. The theme of The Matrix says that there's a world that we can't see that influences the world that we can see, and that we are part of both of those worlds. Avatar, the movie Avatar. Wow, what a beautiful, beautiful film, reminding us of our deep interconnectedness with the world of nature and the natural world, and how we need to care for and nourish and protect that natural world. The Avengers, as I mentioned, and Transformers, all referring to powers that are within individuals that are dormant, and that we have the ability to awaken these powers in our everyday lives to make life better, to help us to become the best versions of ourselves, to transcend, not just survive, but to thrive and transcend whatever life brings to our doorstep. Well, that principle, consciousness informing itself through its creations, extends to technology. Now look at where this is leading. Our technology, we have some of the most advanced technology believed to have ever existed on our planet. Depending on how far back in time you go, there's a whole story we could talk about there. But look at the technology in the world around us. The internet, for example. What is the internet? If this principle is true, what is the internet telling us? Well, the internet is all about connectivity and connecting us. Did we build the internet to remind ourselves of how deeply that connection really goes? What about medicine? You know, we have these external forms of chemicals and energy and supplements that we take into our bodies in times of need, and I'm happy that they're there. I've used them, we all have. But are they reminding us of our natural ability to do precisely the same thing? Because the truth is that those external forms of healing mimic what we already do in our bodies, except we do it better when we're at our best, when we give our bodies what they need to be at their best. What about all the other technologies, that we're looking out there? What are we asking ourselves to remember about ourselves? Well, this is where the new discoveries come in, because new discoveries are now showing us, they're giving us a whole different view of the way that we live. Aging, for example, we think of aging as linear. As you move forward through chronological time, your body deteriorates biologically. It can happen, it doesn't have to. Cyclic aging is now a fact of science, and I'm going to share with you those principles of cyclic aging. Stem cells. We've been taught that stem cells, we deplete our supply of stem cells as we age. That is what I was taught when I was in school. That's what many of you have been taught. The new discoveries don't support that. There's a new class of stem cells that's with us until the last breath we take on this planet, that has a full complement of pristine DNA that's available to us up until the moment of that last breath. We were taught, I remember when I was in school back in 1950s, 1960s, early 1970s, I was taught that I come into this world with X amount of neurons in my brain, and that the things I do in my life will destroy those. You drink too much beer, you lose your brain cells. We've all heard that. Well, now we know that we are creating neurons in our brain from a very special place in the brain until the last breath we take on this planet. It is not a finite, fixed amount. And all the things I'm talking about, whether you're talking about longevity enzymes, healing, whether you're talking about stem cells, whether you're talking about neurogenesis, what we're talking about is plasticity. We've all heard of neuroplasticity, the ability to shift the way that neurons are wiring and firing in our brain. Well, that plasticity now applies to biology, bioplasticity. It now applies to genetics, genetic plasticity. And the beauty of all of these things is that we don't need to know the science, but the principles are very well known. They're easy to apply, and there are choices that we can make in our everyday lives to support all of these things, to support neuroplasticity, bioplasticity, genetic plasticity. And when we do that, when we embrace these principles and these internal technologies, it changes everything. It changes the way that we feel about changes in the world, because our sense of well-being no longer hinges solely on what's happening out there. The world is going to go through its changes, and we may not be able to do much as an individual about those changes. We're not going to stop them for sure. But as we assume a deeper responsibility for the new human that is emerging, and that's precisely what's happening, a new human is emerging. As we assume our responsibility for the potential within us and for the new human that is emerging, it changes the way that we feel and how we fear those external changes so that we are more comfortable sitting back and saying, you know, let the world go through the gyrations because it's going to change. And the better we know ourselves, the better we can direct where those changes lead. We all know the world's changing. The question is, are we coming in for a hard landing or a soft landing? And as we become the best version of ourselves, that allows us to create the best world possible. You cannot separate who you are from the world that you're seeing around you. And that's what this program is all about. So it's a full day program, very visual, very fast moving. I'm going to offer direct techniques that do just what I mentioned to support neurogenesis, to support the new class of stem cells, many other things. And then we're going to end the day when the producer for this event and I have a dialogue on stage. It's probably going to last around 90 minutes. His name is John Peterson. He is a visionary. He is a futurist. He is the founder, president, and CEO of the Arlington Institute, who is hosting me for this event. We're going to bring him on stage, and he and I, from our unique perspectives in the industries that we have come from, in working within the corporations that we have worked with, government agencies that we've worked with, we're going to be able to have a conversation that simply cannot happen at a 90-minute keynote at a conference on science and spirituality. So I'm excited about this event. I hope that you are too. I hope that what I'm saying to you speaks to you because we're in this together. And the only way out of it is to go through it. We've got to go through this together. And I want you to know that we are wired to thrive. We are equipped with everything we need to successfully thrive and transcend the new world that is at our doorstep. But if you don't know that, these changes can look very, very frightening. And that fear is what is dividing us. It's pitting men against women, blacks against whites, rich against poor, liberals against conservatives, Christians against Muslims. We're all seeing this. You know this. I'm just being very honest with you. And this is the point. How can we solve the problems that face us in our lives if we're not honest about those problems? So let's you and I be honest about those problems. Let's be honest about our potential to thrive in the presence of the change, and together we can solve those problems in a healthy way. And it begins with the direct knowledge of who you are and your potential in the world, the new human that is emerging within you. So thank you for sharing a few minutes of your day with me in this video. I hope you have a little bit better understanding about what Berkeley Springs is going to be about. If you can't be there, that's cool. You can join us through the video stream. Even if you can't watch live on that video stream, you'll have access to it for a period of time after. And I'm not mentioning that period of time because I'm not producing the event and I don't know precisely what that period is, but I know it is a substantial period of time that you can watch this. So thank you again. I hope to see you either virtually or in the presence of that beautiful historic Star Theater, Saturday, July 31st, Berkeley Springs, West Virginia. For more information, just check out my website, greggbraden.com, GreggBraden.com, or you can go to the Arlington Institute website, and we'll see you there. Thank you so much.